Welcome everybody to Redwood. As you see the train of the B&M Hyper going over the entrance. This is my newest park creation for back on track coasters. And yeah, this one is one of my biggest and my best RCT3 parks here. As you can see it in motion now. I don't have any people in the park because it's already slow enough with the frame rate as is. It is very glitchy, but I've really put in a lot of work with this park, and I'm going to give you a nice little overview here quickly. So first, I just want to do a little survey of the land for you so you can kind of see the whole thing. We have all of our different roller coasters here. And one of the goals of this park this time was to kind of work with the terrain and allow there to be more terrain usage, have some mountains, have some hills. You can see the water ride about to splash down. This is going to be exciting to be able to see this. I'll show you guys that view. Bam. Nice little splash down. But yeah, to use mountains, hills, roller coasters on higher levels, and just kind of play with that and use that to my advantage. And it really allowed the park to be able to come out very well. It's my best park easily. And then also just having compact rides too. That was one of the other objectives that I really wanted to focus on, was making sure to have like various different sorry, I zoomed in real quick there. Having various different roller coaster types and a lot of compact roller coasters fit into small spaces, and I feel like it really came out well. So I'm excited to show you guys everything. So I'll kind of go in order of how I built this park up. First, I started off with this kind of main path here, and this roller coaster was the first thing I built, and this one is Tomahawk, and you can see it right here. Give you a nice little view of the entrance. Tomahawk is a B&M Hyper, kind of on the level of Shambhala. And it has a queue line that kind of goes through a little queue building, and then it comes up across this little way here, and then you get into the station. So let's give it a ride. So turn it on here. And we'll come out of the station and give it a ride here. B&M Hyper Tomahawk. This thing measures about 250, 260 feet, so it's kind of nearing that giga range. Definitely one of my favorite coasters that I built. Really, again, like I said, inspired by Shambhala. And we'll go ahead and give it a ride as we're about to go over this hill and straight into our drop. And that was Tomahawk, your big B&M Hyper coaster, and the park that welcomes you to Redwood here. And then, of course, one of the big things about Redwood here is we have the sign that spells out Redwood over there. And then you got a ride that has little swans that you ride on, and it goes on a little lake around the B&M Hyper, which is pretty cool. I love the turnaround. I kind of incorporated some of those Giga Coaster-like elements because it is kind of in the middle of a Hyper and a Giga. You can see it kind of going through its turnaround. It goes up on that nice little cliff side, does a nice little dive, get to go on the water a little bit, then, of course, into the awesome entrance. Kind of inspired by Gatekeeper, but I was like, hey, let me try that with a B&M Hyper, and the airtime hill ended up fitting right over the Redwood sign. But that is Tomahawk. There's a little gift shop you exit into. It's pretty cool. It's one of my favorite coasters done here. So then we got the Ferris wheel. I built this Ferris wheel up kind of a nice little centerpiece to really kind of welcome you to the park. And then that takes you over to the B&M Dive Coaster. This coaster is Cobalt. This is like a smaller scale B&M Dive Coaster. More of your Emperor at SeaWorld San Diego sort of style. Not necessarily your Valravin, Griffin, Sheikra height. But yeah, this one's pretty cool too. We're going to go ahead and give it a ride. This one's about 130, 140 feet tall. You get a nice little dive underneath a pathway. And of course, it's known for its beautiful cobalt blue color scheme. Here is Cobalt for you as it's going to go up the lift hill. It's got blue lights on the side and goes up adjacent to a cliff. So there is Cobalt for you, your B&M dive coaster at Redwood. And we can go look at some of the details here. Here's the entrance sign and plaza. You see the roller coaster going around there. It's got a little tunnel that it goes over. And then my favorite element of this ride is the nice little zero-G roll. I love how that looks. I love Valravin's zero-G roll. It's one of the smoothest and coolest elements, and I wanted to incorporate that into this ride, and I think it came out very well. There's a little C for it, and then I'll show you guys a night picture of it because it does have a lit up lift hill, which is really cool. The Ferris wheel also gets lit up as well, so nice to have a little light package on the ride. So there's Cobalt for you, one of the coolest coasters, and the second one that I built. Now, the next thing I did was I went up around this area. I built this little transport ride with a couple of stations that kind of take you around this top part of the park. And I built up to this whole area, built this hotel, and built this ride right here. So this one is based off of those new Vekoma launched coasters. And this one is called Wasp. So this is going to be a very fun ride to get to show you guys what this one is all about. But yeah, it's got a nice yellow-black color scheme. You can see the launch right down there. And this is like that one at Energy Landia. I think it's themed to like water. It's a really cool coaster design. I was like, I need to get one of those in my park. So I ended up building one of those. So let's see how it came out. Here's going to be the POV. And there is Wasp. Wasp is one of the coolest coasters here. Love how this one came out. Yellow and black looks wonderful. And then, of course, I need to show you guys the Flower Pavilion here with the Batwing element. I tried to incorporate these black and yellow sort of like tunnels in various different places. And Wasp, I'm really happy how it came out. It's very compact, and it really challenged me to be able to build a roller coaster in such a tight space. And I felt like the challenge was awesome. It ended up really pushing me to work hard. And I feel like it really came out very well. It was a really delightful challenge. You can get to see how the finale here has a little dive underneath the queue line. And the queue line is pretty nice too, pretty detailed. It's a full-on like queue house. So I have the building over there, and then it kind of climbs its way up to the backside here. So again, really detailed queue line. And I think it came out great. I'll show you a little bit of other stuff that's here. You got a rotor, which is your big like delirium sort of model, and it goes off the side where you can see like the little cliff side and little valley. So I like to make these thrill rides, especially if I'm going to use mountains, make it really emphasize the height by going off of edges and stuff. So looked really good. I'm glad that came out well. Got your bumper cars in here. You have a stage, and then you have your hotel. So, and like a food court sort of area too. So lots of things to do up in this area. There's also another roller coaster, but I didn't build that one till later. So that one will be shown as I try to go in order of how I built everything. So next coaster that I ended up doing, so I ended up connecting the pathways down to here and making an area up here and an area down here. And the result was I was like, hey, let me build a wooden coaster that's a Mobius loop. And I ended up making this park right after I went to Six Flags Magic Mountain. And I got to see a couple of Mobius loop roller coasters with West Coast Racers and ride Twisted Colossus too. And Twisted Colossus was awesome. And I was like, hey, let me build myself a Mobius loop. So this is the coaster that is like that Mobius loop sort of idea. So this one is called Twisted Pines. And this one is a pretty solid ride. And I'm about to show you it right here. It's GCI based, at least in terms of like the car design, but not necessarily a GCI, more of just a custom wooden coaster. So hope you enjoy the POV here, as you're going to see the red side and the blue side, and maybe see a couple of interactions around the hills and around the trees. And of course, going up to the second level of pathways, you can really see the Batwing really well. I even point my camera towards it here. Yep, there you can see the Batwing, and it's really cool when the coaster goes across the Batwing as well. But here is the wooden coaster, Twisted Pines. And now you switch over to the blue side, and it's going to go up its lift hill. You can kind of see the big sort of ride like the Cranium Shaker from the Diver Wimpy Kid movie series up there spinning around. But yeah, here we go. Part 2 of the ride. Now you're on the blue side. And there is Twisted Pines. Twisted Pines was a coaster where I tried to incorporate a little bit of tunnels, some dives into the cliff sides, and I was able to incorporate about everything I wanted. Have a queue line that kind of goes underneath this big stairway, and there's just lots of good interaction with this roller coaster. Got the double dip on the blue side, And yeah, the only thing I guess I would change is having more train interaction. There doesn't seem to be as much train interaction. There might be a little bit around this little hill and how it kind of climbs around this butte. But yeah, not necessarily the biggest strength of the ride. But overall, I'm very happy with how it came out. Let's see if you can see the little interaction here as the trains will pass over and under each other. There you go. Little example there. But after that roller coaster, I went back to this side and I ended up building a big B&M stand-up. So, of course, with going on Six Flags Magic Mountain and riding Riddler's Revenge, I was just like, wow, that's such an awesome roller coaster, and I really enjoyed it, especially with the trick that they have for guys on stand-up roller coasters to make sure you kind of put your knees down so that the bicycle seat doesn't hit your balls, and that ended up making the ride very comfortable. And I'm very thankful that I was able to ride that ride because I was like, hey, let me put one of those in my little park here in RCT3. So this one is Green Giant, kind of like the Green Bean Company. And the story is it's almost like Greek themed, where it's like there's this green giant and these centurions are going out to try to take down the green giant. And many of them have failed. And the question is, can you conquer the green giant, as it says right here on this sign? So the queue line's very nice. It goes through the woods, kind of goes around the ride, just like how Riddler's Revenge does. And yeah, this is like your big scale B&M stand-up. So let's go ahead and give it a ride. Green Giant is next right here on the docket. Yeah, with this one, I just wanted to make more of a compact layout. I was working on pretty much flat land, so I was like, hey, what can I do to kind of spice it up instead of it just being like placed in a parking lot like Scream at Six Flags Magic Mountain. So this time around, I decided to really just incorporate a lot of over and under elements, get some tunnels in there, and just make this coaster really compact and feel like it's going through the woods, and you'll see it right here. And there is Green Giant. Really nice design. I love the color scheme too. I just made it green and yellow, kind of like Riddler's Revenge. Really inspired by that roller coaster and was inspired by the color scheme, and I thought it looked really nice. One of my biggest techniques for B&M coasters is using the wooden coaster supports as a catwalk. They don't really have a good catwalk design in RCT3 Complete Edition, and I don't know how to do custom scenery on the Complete Edition. So I just decided to kind of utilize what I have to really make these B&Ms look a lot better. And having this, even though these wooden support trusses aren't necessarily the most realistic, I think it ends up looking really solid. And I just feel like it really allows the lift hill to look more like a lift hill. And it even allows the mid-course brake runs to look a lot better. And there's a lot of elements I really liked about this. I like the theme and the name. The night, it has a little bit of lights. The lift hill's lit up as well. And I had these little towers put in where I put little lights underneath them. There's even a nice tunnel incorporated, which I think was the coolest part of the ride, was being able to put a tunnel in there. Really just add it to the appeal. And then also just having a corkscrew that kind of goes underneath the drop that threads through the incline loop. There's just little interactions like that that made this one of my favorite coaster designs that I've ever come up with. So we're starting to get pretty far into the video now, 20 minutes in. We're almost done here. We're going to keep working through. Only a few more coasters left. Hopefully this video can stay under 30 minutes, 35 minutes here. So the next coaster up is Amethyst Streak. So here it comes. This is your Blitz coaster, almost Blitz mixed with a Megalite, but yeah, kind of like your Maverick style roller coaster. Has the big brick A in front of it and the beautiful, beautiful purple color scheme. Purple is one of my favorite colors. And yeah, this track type, it doesn't necessarily have, it has some limitations like the angled hills. It doesn't really allow for like angled hills or like banking really easily or banking up in a certain direction. So I had to be creative, but I feel like this is the best I could come up with considering it. And let me go and give a little bit of a light package overview there. There you go. So next ride we will ride is Amethyst Dash. I thought it was Amethyst Streak. My bad. Amethyst Dash. And this was a nod to my last park I did, which is called Amethyst Woods. So I was like, why not keep the Amethyst kind of going? But here we go. Let's take a ride on Amethyst Dash, not Amethyst Streak. All right, so that was Amethyst Dash. Due to the parts limitations and like different things like that, we weren't necessarily able to make it the best or the cleanest. There's some moments where it would be high lateral forces like that. Those little turns up around these areas aren't necessarily the best. And then also the slowdown, the brake system. I kind of ran out of room and real estate with how compact it was, so I had to make some concessions there. But overall, I think it really is a great addition to the park. And I love the color scheme. The purple looks so beautiful against the green and the grass. Gets a path interaction. Did some custom supports, kind of like a little mini Millennium Force style support structure. And then was able to even get the 0G roll to go through it. Actually, we can even see it as the coaster's coming along here. Comes around and into the 0G roll. So love how that came out. That is Amethyst Dash, and I'll show you a little bit of this area here. There's some nice stuff. I ended up putting like a little bit of blue flowers because Cobalt's right over here. There's some bathrooms, some restaurants, a little mini Ferris wheel. So if you're scared of heights, you can go ride the mini one. There's a drop tower here. You have your big water ride, and then kind of just like a beautiful tree line path here. So that's pretty nice. But let's see. Next coaster I made up was Drongo. So now that's the name of the invert in my other park. This one is Mountain Dragon. There we go. Got the right B&M invert name. This roller coaster is a big B&M invert, kind of inspired by Great Bear and some of the 90s style B&M inverts, early 2000s. And a little bit of Ninja at 6 Foot Magic Mountain that has the lift hill that goes into the station, then another lift hill before the drop. So let's give this one a ride. I really tried to play up the castle theming. Of course, it's themed to a dragon. So I was able to theme the queue line as such. So let's go ahead and give a ride on Mountain Dragon with its fun color scheme of orange and teal. I just want to use that color scheme really badly. It's not necessarily the most dragon-like color scheme, but I think it gets the job done. Plus, there's like dragon-like trains because the Dragon Challenge coming out around this time of this game was made. So they have the dragon-themed trains. Hey, here we go. Here comes the drop on Mountain Dragon. right, now you can kind of see why it's called Mountain Dragon. It does go through the mountains. It has a corkscrew and a helix inside the mountain, which is really cool. But yeah, you get a nice little view of the ride as you're going up on the lift hill and then into the final brake run up here. There's even a transfer track, which I tried to add that sort of detail, some trusses. And of course, you go into the castle. Dun dun dun. Yeah, Mountain Dragon. I really do love how this one came out. I love that I was able to work with the terrain quite a bit and have a little drop. The little mini drop goes into the corkscrew, into a nice little helix, and then a second helix that kind of goes through one of the parts of the castle there with a little opening in there, and then it goes into the loop, cobra roll, and the rest of the layout. So definitely love how it looks. It looks really great from around this area, and it just kind of dominates this sort of area. It's really cool being able to see how that went. But yeah, that is Mountain Dragon. That was one of the next coasters I built. Then after Mountain Dragon, I was like, hey, I have one wooden coaster, but I want a traditional regular brown wooden coaster. So this one is Hill Diver, and it's really cool. You can see it kind of going around. And of course, it is called Hill Diver because it does dive off of the hill. So that's going to be a fun part of the ride when you guys see that. And let's go ahead and give it a ride. Hill Diver is next. So this one is more of a true GCI wooden coaster. It has a lot more of the elements that a GCI would have, including twisted drops, not once, but twice. Now, a little bit of leaves in the way. That's kind of bad on my part. I need to make sure I cut down the trees a little bit. But yeah, there it is. Hill Diver. Nice little GCI wooden coaster. A little bit more classic of a wooden coaster than the other one, which is kind of a Mobius loop. But I feel this one's pretty thrilling. It has little light moments where it's just having little bunny hills. And then there are other moments where you're twisting off of a hill. So I think that is really cool. And one of the star attractions of this sort of area, where you go up the stairs, you go underneath the Twisted Pines roller coaster. You have a thrill ride up here. You have a little part where you can see the Twisted Pines red side kind of go up and then go down. And then you can pass over into this area and go take a ride on Hill Diver. And of course, its queue line has a really good view where you can go up in the queue. You can look at the different rides that are out there. And it was awesome. Just a really good design. I love being able to incorporate Hill Diver, and it just suits this park really nicely. Then the next ride we have is your ride called Cliffhanger. So this one is a intimate impulse, kind of like a Wicked Twister. Rest in peace to that roller coaster. Got to ride it a few times before it closed, but sad to see it go. But here's Cliffhanger. This one is nothing too crazy. Just your standard intimate impulse, but we'll give it a little bit of a ride here. And of course it's called Cliffhanger because you're going to end up hanging off of the cliff looking downward. So I have a twisted side, so you can have the thrill of that as you go forward. But the backward side is the crazy, just straight down drop as you look at how high you are as you go off the mountain. So again, it's another ride that kind of just adds to that perception of height, where you feel like you're much higher in the air than the drop actually is, which I think is a great little feature and a great way to work with the terrain. But it just goes back and forth like that. Nothing too crazy. Then after that coaster, we're kind of getting our way to the end here. I ended up building this roller coaster called Solstice. This is a Chance Morgan Hyper GTX, and this one was just really compact. I just wanted to try to fit it into this area, and it ended up working out. But here it is. It has a very slow lift hill like Chance Morgan GTXs do. And yeah, I ended up using the Hyper Coaster, the Aero Hyper Coaster design, or Aero / Morgan Hyper Coaster design that they have in this game. And again, it ended up working out pretty well. I was surprised at how good it really came out. But here it is. You got Solstice with its nice red and little darkish brown, lightish brown sort of thing, kind of a tan color scheme. And there is Solstice. That is your Hyper GTX model, like Lightning Run at Kentucky Kingdom, which I got to give a ride. I was very impressed with Lightning Run. It has a great drop, and I want to kind of create something like that. Of course, the drop is not able to be as steep, but overall, I feel like it ended up designing pretty well in RCT3. I really love how this little figure eight sort of thing came out. It was very compact, very twisted, and it ended up looking pretty good as like the ride crossing over itself, especially with it being in such a tight space. And then, of course, it was able to incorporate the slow lift hill. And yeah, it was a really great roller coaster. And this was the part where I was really running low on space. And I had this whole mountain taken up with this water ride. And I was like, hey, what more can I add? And I was like, hey, let me add a Mac Big Dipper. And here is the Mac Big Dipper. And this ride is called Eclipse. So a little bit of a sort of sky references with Solstice, and then now you got the Eclipse. So kind of pertaining to times of the year. But this one is a nice little pale blue, Carolina blue sort of style in black. And it is one of my favorite coasters that I design here. Actually, I mean, all of them are really good. But this one, especially when I build coasters that are roller coasters that aren't necessarily, they weren't invented by the time RCT3 came out. So you kind of just got to customize it. And I feel like this really worked out pretty well. Of course, the track type is more like the Intamin Max style in real life, and I use B&M track because the B&M multi-coaster was the best fit for it. But here it is. Now, I love the overall theme and vibe I chose for this. So this was the first time kind of getting to work with the sort of city elements. So they had like skyscraper building and effects. And I felt like it really worked well for kind of like the sort of vibe I was trying to go off. Almost like a city at the evening time, or a city that's like muted colors. I think it just really came out very well. I was really excited about this one, and just being able to fit another coaster around here. And I got to have another 0G roll, add a couple of inversions, and really make it like the one at I think it's Walibi Holland. That's one of them that has the Mac Big Dipper. And then, of course, got to incorporate that near the water ride. So there's the water ride there. Let's see if we can go for the drop of one of them. I don't necessarily care too much about the other aspects. So yeah, this was the final drop of it. I'll just show you that. The rest of it kind of just meanders around through the cave and through the mountain. And then the final thing is that it comes out here and it goes for the big drop that you can see the whole park. You see the Ferris Wheel. You see Amethyst Dash right in front of you. And then you have the big splashdown, which kind of turns. That would probably be... give you some pretty bad whiplash there, but just kind of got to work within the constraints of the space. And this park, I'm not going to try to put too many people in this park because that would glitch it out even more than it already is. But yeah, so it's been 35 minutes and you've gotten to see all about Redwood, which is my newest creation here. And I'm really excited and really glad that it really came out very well. I worked pretty hard on this park, and it was really good just having this as a stress reliever. Of course, through the broadcasting that I'm doing and all the other schoolwork that I'm doing, it's nice to have something to be able to relax myself. And RCT3 has been a great asset in terms of me being able to relax. You can see the elevator right here too. And I think I want to do a Let's Play series with RCT3 coming up here soon as well. There's some YouTubers that have been doing RCT3 series and Instagrammers that have been doing RCT3. And I'm like, hey, I really do like this game. And I think it's a great roller coaster builder. And even though it's a pretty old game, I think it really still holds up fairly well. But this is Redwood. I really appreciate you guys watching if you made it through all 36 minutes. And yeah, this is Redwood. We'll close it off on this little image right here. But take care.